your childhood was different. You went back and forth between the Bronx and Alabama.
I left the Bronx and went to Alabama, and it was good for me. It was what was needed at the time, but at the same time, with everything I had to deal with in Alabama inside the home, with my dad, my stepfather, the abuse that I saw when I was there, it was part of my life, obviously, but it had a huge effect on me. But yeah, once I left the Bronx, I stayed in Alabama until I graduated from high school.
At what point in your childhood did you realize something was wrong with the household?
I think I kind of knew early on. I kind of knew that what was happening in the house wasn't right. Obviously, you're hearing your mom scream, getting beaten by a man, and it wasn't like something that happened every night, but you knew early on. You could feel the pain, you feel the hurt, you felt her hurt, and that was the most torturous thing about anything. Seeing my brother leave, because he moved down to Alabama with us as well, but his dad made him come live with them, so you knew something was going wrong. But I didn't realize that wasn't normal until I was an adult, because you saw it happening in other households too. Unfortunately, I'm not just saying in the South, but unfortunately at that time there was a lot of domestic abuse that was happening in other households too. I didn't know if it was as bad as it was happening in ours, but to see your mom go through what she went through with the black eyes and being beaten and nobody really there for her or taking care of her or looking out for her, and then eventually being stabbed and left for dead, that had an effect.
Yeah. And you said you grew up in the house and the house had guns everywhere.
Yeah.
But you had your specific gun of your own. And then there was a situation where you went and grabbed that gun and went after your stepfather. Yeah.
So there was a point in time when I got older, you seeing the abuse for so long, you just want to do something. I was 14 to 15 years old. I was still a child, but I felt like I needed to protect my mom. And so I knew there were guns all over the house because that's just the way, I grew up. But my dad had given me a shotgun for hunting, which I never went hunting. I think I went hunting one time, right? But I always had it in my room and I always had it loaded. And there was just one specific time that I heard my mom screaming, and I went into the room and they were fighting. He was beating her, and I just pulled the gun and I cocked it, and heard my mom screaming at me, telling me not to do it. And she started yelling and screaming at me, and I'm confused. I'm wondering, like, I'm here to help you and you're yelling and screaming at me. Now later she would tell me that she just didn't want me to do anything stupid that was going to affect and ruin my life for the rest of my life, which I'm happy I didn't do it, but at the same time I think I probably would have, because I was at that point. I think everybody has a limit. Everybody has that breaking point where you just either you're tired of getting beaten or you're tired of seeing somebody that you love getting beaten, and that was my breaking point.
Yeah. When that happens and you get to that place and now you're getting ready to leave and you're going into the military, did you feel guilt of leaving your mom behind in that situation? Because your stepdad, you said he was a murder for hire, so he's a hitman.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize he was a murder for hire until after, I went into the military, and then I kind of saw he was a broken man after my mom left him. But yeah, I mean, bringing that up, that kind of brings some emotions, because I knew I had to leave. I knew I had to get away from there. I knew I couldn't go to college. I knew if I would have gone to college, my mom saying she would have paid for college, I knew I would have ended up right back into the same environment that I saw a lot of my friends end up, because we didn't have the money for it. Even if I had the grades, I probably would have tried to work it out, but I would have ended up coming right back to help her out because she just didn't have anything. So the military was the option for me because I saw my cousins go into it. But yeah, I think there was a little trepidation, there was a little guilt. I mean, no one's ever brought that up before, but you saying that kind of brings a little emotions, because yeah, I didn't want to leave my mom. And when I left my mom, I'm leaving her at home in that house with him. And I had to go overseas. And I had to go to the Philippines. And while I was over in the Philippines, there was an incident that happened that you're reading the book that happened that I felt helpless. I felt so helpless. My mom calling me and she's crying because something happened where he made another mistake. And it wasn't against her, but it was against somebody else. And she was alone, and she was, all my family lived in New York, or my brother was in Virginia at the time, or he was in school, I believe. he was in Virginia with his family, and she was down there by herself, and I'm in the Philippines. I'm thousands of miles away, and there's nothing I can do. So yeah, there was a little trepidation, a little guilt that I felt, but I know it was something that I needed to do, because if not, I could have ended up in that same cycle of being, wrapped up like a lot of my friends were.
Was there ever a conversation with you and your mom where you told her how you felt, like in a fearful way?
Yeah, I mean, we had conversations. I never understood why my mom never left. Sometimes I think I kind of blamed her, to be honest with you, and it was wrong for me to do that. But I'm like, why are you taking this? Why are you taking this? Why are you going through this? Why are you putting yourself through this? Where we could just go back to New York and we can live and we can have a good life or whatever and get away from all this. Obviously, when you get older, you realize that it's not that simple. Like, she got to have a job. She got to be able to take care of herself. She got to be able to take care of me. She's a single mom. He was a provider in certain ways when it came to money, protection, ironically. Even though he was her biggest abuser, he was also a protector. Nobody else would mess with us. But yeah, there was a little resentment, in a sense, of wondering, why are we staying here? Why am I in these conditions? I always felt like when I was down there that I didn't belong there. And nothing against anybody that lives in Alabama or Bessemer, but I just never felt that was my home. I never felt like I was supposed to be there. I knew there was something that was bigger, and I wanted to always get out. So as soon as I was able to, that's why another reason why I went into the military was like, I'm getting out of here. Yeah. And even though there was, like I said, the trepidation of doing it and leaving her by herself, I'm like, I gotta go, because if I don't go, then no one's ever gonna get out of here. So yeah.
And you said the military was the first time you felt structure.
I felt structure, and I'm such a. You ask my wife now, I'm like, I'm such a structured person, and that definitely gave me that structure. It was like there was a regiment that I needed to take care of. There was a regiment. I needed to be in a certain place at a certain time, being on time. There was like organization, all that type of stuff. That became a part of my life, and it's still a big part of my life today.
What was your job in the military?
I was a 202. My AFSC, I was a radio communications analyst specialist. So when I went in, they told me I wanted to go in because I knew I wanted to go into communications. Mm-hmm. So the recruiter always gets you, and that's why I always talk to people. I'm like, yo, come talk to me before you talk to the recruiter. Before you sign anything, talk to me when it comes to the military. I just told my niece. Yeah, they'll get you. They'll get you. Like, yeah, you can go in. Yeah, you want to be a broadcaster? Okay, yeah. I'm like, okay, radio communications. It sounds like a job I want to have, right? Shit, man. I got in. I'm like, I'm in tech school. I'm in basic training. I'm about to go to tech school, and I get my job application. I get my job description. And it says radio communication analyst specialist. You're gonna be supporting basically people that take Morse code. You're gonna be in an intelligence field. I'm like, this ain't got nothing to do with radio. Where the TV cameras at? What a prompter? How am I gonna be? This ain't got nothing to do with that.
You gotta work with Morse code.
I gotta work with Morse code operators, and I gotta be an analyst. I gotta work with spy planes and all that type of stuff. Where's the radio communication part of it? And it had nothing, but it was in the general field that I signed up for. It wasn't a specific job, and that's one of the things I made a mistake with. But that even worked out because it got me in a top secret background. I did a background check, which actually worked out in other ways. So everything that I've gone through in my life, including that, served the purpose. And eventually it takes a while for you to see what that purpose is. Yeah. But it served the purpose.
Yeah. I wouldn't want that top secret status. There's some stuff I don't need to know.
I still don't know how I got it. Obviously, this was before 9/11. They weren't doing those kind of background checks back then. Because if they really would have dug, they'd be like, hell no.
Not this
Do you know who his daddy is? First and foremost.
Right.
Yeah. Like my dad, I'm like, yeah. And so when I was in school, when I was in basic training, that's when they do the background check just to make sure that you can get your secret clearance or whatever. And my mom's like, why is the FBI, CIA in the neighborhood? And I'm like, I don't know what they doing bad. They asking questions around. I'm like, obviously they didn't ask the right questions.
Not the right person. Like, you know, nah, I don't know him.
Yeah. So, but I got it. I got it. So
You still have it?
I don't.
Okay.
I mean, after a while, you know, like